Hey, fellas, guess what? We are live. It's our trick or trade episode.
There we go.
Are the Broncos buyers, sellers, or sitters? What's that look like? Broncos are 4-3. I don't care if it was the Saints letting they put their preseason team out there. We still beat them. Carolina comes to Denver this weekend. Is the road paved for CU in the Big 12 Championship? And it's the Baseball World Series. Gotta love October baseball, CJ.
Yeah.
CJ, are you going? I heard there's a rumor you might be going to a Yankee game in October.
Trying to make some moves, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's through my the great Shafe down there, or whether it's through my guys CC Sabat, which it might go through CC. It won't be expensive going through my man's. That's good about being from Vallejo, CC from Vallejo. You know, a couple quick phone calls, and I might be in New York, baby.
Throwing some moves together. So, welcome to the Field of the Deal podcast with CJ Anderson, future head coach at
wherever you want me, because we're gonna win games and I'm gonna win championships, because that's all I do.
Speaking of head coaches, let's go right here. Right up, I'm a head coach for you, CJ. I'm a football coach right now.
Okay, got your prime going on over there, baby.
It's my Ted Lasso.
Ted is a good one too.
Okay. We got super agent Peter Schaefer Esquire, one of the coolest authentic agents you know.
Who's always working, by the way.
Always. Like, his phone's always ringing. I can't tell you the last time I've called him and I haven't gotten a text back like, hey, can I call you back like at 1 a.m.? I'm on the call till like 1 a.m. So, and coming in here soon, super agent Scott, the NFL GM. We're going to ask him about some trades coming up, the trade deadline coming up. What should the Broncos do? And if you're curious about us, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, Twitter, X, YouTube, everywhere. Just find us. Hey, CJ and Peter, here's a good reminder to retweet this out here right now that we're posted here on Twitter or X. Do people actually call it X in conversation yet, by the way?
I have no idea. I still call it Twitter every once in a while. I don't think I've ever... No disrespect, Elon. I don't think I ever called it X. You know what I'm saying? Only X I know is Dez Bryant. You know what I'm
saying? Fair enough. So we're brought to you by Simpler.ai. It's a digital marketing company helping your organizations be found in a complex digital world. At Simpler.ai, there's a link in the description, and there's a link there you can actually set an appointment and talk about your organization's needs. But first, CJ.
Yeah.
It's been a mini bye. When you guys get off a mini bye, are you ready or are you rusty?
No, I'm super refreshed. What? Nothing like a mini bye. I probably got a chance to get out of town. I probably got a chance to go back to my alma mater and go watch a college football game. I probably got a chance to stay home and relax. Didn't even leave town.
So it's one of those where you just get like how many days off do you get on the mini bye? You're on the road Thursday night, you finish up. Like you get home right? Friday.
You get home Friday, you're usually back Monday.
Okay. Nice little weekend off. I'm assuming someone like he's watching a lot of film or going to a lot of games.
Who?
You.
Not really. I'm watching a lot of football. I'm watching like just random football. It depends what I do. Like, I've had Thursday night games where I've stayed home and enjoyed my house. I've had Thursday night football games like where I go home and I'm enjoying the family and I might go back to a high school game. Yep. I've had Thursday night football games. I go back to Cal and I go watch a Saturday football game with them. Or I've had where I get to a beach, slide to LA or something.
Absolutely.
Just, kick it on the beach for the weekend.
Hey, we got Carolina coming up. CJ, you spent a few days in Carolina, and Carolina is not the best of teams right now. Peter, were you saying something? Your mic is muted if you are. Or he's talking to someone else.
Scott's trying to get in. He says browser not supported.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
So I told him, that's him just turn it on, do what I do. Hit reset and then kick the computer.
They fired you, Scott. Might have fired you. You ain't got the code no more.
And then I said, just call him from, and then I said, just log in from your phone too. So he's getting on right now.
He's coming. Cool.
All right. So now what? Go ahead.
So see, you guys spent some time with Carolina. Carolina is not considered one of the best teams in the league this year. For the Broncos, Do style points matter this week, or just winning matters?
Oh, winning. Just dubs. I don't care what. Man, we can win 2-0. We can win all our games 2-0 if it gets us to the Super Bowls. Like, just win. Just win.
The thing that scares me, though, I'll tell you right now, and I've talked to a number of the Broncos and stuff, is they see a 10.5-point spread for first time double digits for the Broncos. I just worry that they don't have enough talent to win on talent alone. And if the players are seeing this thing and saying, oh, gee, this is going to be, a walk in the park because Carolina stinks. You're playing without their top two receivers. Andy Dalton's hurt. So Rob likes to throw out the JV term. This is what you call a trap game. They better show up Sunday, because I guarantee you, Carolina they're depositing checks on Monday too. They're pros.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting thought. Like, Bryce Young's back at the starting quarterback because Andy Dalton got in a car accident. So is that a good or a bad thing for us? Where it's like Peter always says, like, hey, when big substitutions happen, the metrics don't matter as much anymore because things change. There's not a lot of film on Bryce
Analytics, not metrics.
Analytics.
Well, first of all, sorry about. I didn't know Andy got in a car accident, so sorry to hear that. That's sorry, Red Rifle. Praying for you on that. But I mean, this Carolina was going to be Carolina anyway. Bryce needed these reps anyway. So, like, I'm happy that Bryce is starting. I'm happy that Bryce getting reps because I'm one of the ones that believes in Bryce Young, that he can play this game. Right now, obviously, I don't think they win this weekend, but it's film out there on Bryce and what he does, and VJ knows he's playing a young quarterback, so VJ knows how to get to him. Right? It's Bryce who still has to grow. Right, and this is going to be a part of the growing pains that you got to go through. But this is more about, right, how VJ and the defense come out hungry, come out attacking, come out doing what they do, no matter who's at quarterback, to give them the best chance to win. Right, if they're going in like Pete saying, no aggressiveness, being lackadaisical, understanding that this team is not that good, we're just better. Then you'll see Bryce Young look like a superstar.
And the Panthers haven't put up a ton of points in the last few games. They put up 7 against the Commanders, 20 against the Falcons, 10 against the Bears, and they put 24 up against the Bengals and somehow beat the Raiders with putting up 36. The Raiders must have raided. And so
no, the Raiders, that was the week either before or after they played and beat the Ravens. So this is
the week after. The week after.
Yeah,
they went into that. They went into that, what you're talking about. Oh, this is an easy win. It's all good. They switched quarterbacks. They're finna start Andy Dalton, and then he goes out there and light them up.
Yeah. So, well, with VJ and even CJ, with your OC background, is Sean Payton going to play a little bit more conservative? Like, if something where he may have gone for a 4th and short in the red zone and just going, hey, I'm going to kick the field goals. We only need 15 points to win.
I think all that is like game flow and what's going on. I think Sean does what he do, right? Attack the defense, put Bo in the good position, obviously run the football, put the offense in good position. But the point is to score as many points, right? Score more than the other team. The point is score as many points every play, score as many points as you can, right? And obviously, as an offensive minded person, right, we want to score every possession we get the opportunity to do it. But every time we get the ball, that's an opportunity. So score every possession.
Mm-hmm. But like you're saying, you just want to get some points to win the game. Like, is there, as an OC, when you're playing a team that typically can't put up as many points, and your defense is phenomenal behind you?
It's like, week to week. It's week to week. It could, you can wake up Sunday and this is shootout. It's week to week.
You guys
can't sit there and say,
yes, you can. Yes, you can.
No, you can't say this team averages 15 points and then they go out there and score 30 on you. Like,
hey, when we have a top 3 defense and we have a bottom 5 offense coming in, to go like, hey, we don't think they're going to score a lot of points is a fair assessment. And so then the idea is going like, hey, is Sean Payton going to be a little bit more conservative going in instead of saying, hey, Bo Nix, let it rip? It's like, hey, we're just going to get if we get, our guy, if we can get a 55-yarder, we're going to get some points no matter what. And we just need a few points to win.
I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to tell you is no coach, no player goes in with that type of whatever your average is on those games, that's just your average on the games. But it's week to week. Like, you can get light up. I'm pretty sure the Raiders didn't think they was going to give up 36 to Carolina. Carolina won. If you go back and look at that, the same. They probably was scoring less than 15 points a game. You have to play the game. That's why you play the game on Sundays. You have to score more than the other team, no matter what that looks like. You can't sit there and say, oh, this team has only scored X amount of points. This is what they've averaged. If we score this, it's a guaranteed win. That's not true.
But if you're going, hey, my defense can hold up, they're not going to score a ton of points. Instead of going for like 4th and 3 from the 40, where you may typically go for it.
If your defense comes out and playing, that's why it's the flow of the game. If your defense is coming out playing the way they're supposed to play, it's all on the game. The flow of the game. The defense cannot come out and not be woken up to the second half.
You go in there and sit there and say, we're playing the top or the worst offensive football, and we got a great defense. That is a recipe
for disaster.
For disaster.
Well, but does that affect your game planning as an OC?
No. I'm telling you right now, as soon as they found out that Bryce Young was playing, Vance Joseph went in there. He tore up the game plan for Andy Dalton, and they started watching. Not last week. Last week's game doesn't matter. The week before doesn't matter. They went back and they watched Bryce Young tape, and they're gonna have something for him. And
think of it this way, Rob. Your job as a basketball coach on every offensive possession is put the ball in the hoop. You don't sit there and goes, oh, they score 80, so if we go down out of 10 possessions and we only score 6 of our 10, we're going to have a choice to win. No, your job is to put the ball in the hoop every possession you get the ball on offense.
Absolutely. But
it's the same in football. Your job on offense is put the ball in the end zone every single possessions, right? If we got 10 possessions and we scored all 10 times, 70 points. Like, that's the job.
What I'm saying is there's times where you can be more aggressive. There's times you can be more aggressive where you may not need to be as aggressive.
No, they're going to be – Vance is going to be aggressive. He's going to come after him. And here's the deal. So when we talk about analytics, they have analytics on Bryce Young because he's played this year. You just can't – I always used to remember, and I hate to drop names, but, Barry Sanders would sit there and one of his issues playing football was that every week that Bobby Ross would make them watch the last 3 opponents. So if Detroit was playing Minnesota, watch Minnesota's last 3 games and see what they did. And Barry's like, it doesn't matter because they're not going to play us like they played Tampa or Green Bay, because when I'm playing, they're going to put 9 guys in the box. So why are we watching film of them doing something they won't do? So if you watch them play against Andy Dalton, that's going to be irrelevant. But they do have tape from Bryce Young from earlier in the year. And the question then let's pivot to this is, how do you stop a quarterback? So what is Bryce Young? Bryce Young's a little undersized. Okay. He's like a Tua type quarterback. He's mobile, but not speedy. He's not Kyler Murray. So you're going to watch Vance Joseph. They are going to keep him in the pocket. All right. They're going to keep him in the pocket because make him throw over people, because he can't throw over people. And so Andy Dalton's, the red rifle, he'll sit in their pocket. It's a different thing. And with Andy Dalton, you want to force him out of the pocket. So you're going to see the Broncos. Vance is going to blitz the crap out of him. They might double A gap blitz him cover 0 the first play, CJ.
Right, but like on the other, like Vance not going to change what he do. On the other side, Sean doesn't change what he does. Right. You keep your offense in sync. You keep doing what the offenses do. Like, you don't all of a sudden change, because now as a player, I'm like, dang, we usually go for this. Like, why are we not going for this? All of a sudden, why are we playing scary? Why are we like, no, keep being aggressive. Keep being who you are, right? It keeps the team that mentality and that motto of what they know, right? Oh, it's 4th and 2. I know we're going for it. I don't have to come off the field, right? It keeps that mentality there. Like, keep being you. It doesn't matter who you're playing.
And then with Sean, I can tell you this right now: the panacea for a underperforming offense is playing against a 30th ranked defense. So Sean's sitting there saying, and whether this is good or not, it's stat day.
Shoot, it's pad the stats.
Yeah, CJ would be calling me up, say, should I go for 200 or 250?
and you're telling him 275, right?
I'm trying to find a way to
first downs is better. Get your 200. Let's get up and then let the young bucks take over in the second half. But again, you got to be careful, because once they start thinking that, I'm telling you right now, Carolina they're going to come smash people in the mouth. There are 2 things going on in Carolina right now. If you're a player, or if you're a player agent, and you're talking to one of your players. Number 1, the trade deadline's coming up, because that's going to be the segue. So get some good film, because if you want to get out of there, the best way to get out of there is get some good film. And 2. It doesn't matter who you're playing for the rest of the year. You got need film for next year. And if you are on the worst team, it's hard to get good film. So you better make sure you're getting good film. There are no off days. Every game is like the Super Bowl, even if you are 1-6.
2017, we lost 8 straight with Vance Joseph. Right, we lost 8 straight. We went 5-11. We was playing for our jobs. Right, I was top, Pete, 8 in rushing. Right, I was top 10 in touchdowns, and obviously I ended up having a great opportunity to go expand in free agency as an unrestricted, or when I got cut, not free agency, but when I got cut the next year, I had teams calling Pete asking for my services because what I put together on the losing team. Like, don't think those people over there in Carolina, they're playing for their jobs. They're playing for their jobs.
Look who found his IT guy.
Yeah, right.
He's on his phone. You can tell, fellas.
Peter Schaefer, agent and IT guy, right?
Yeah, I'm really good at it. Let me tell you, I'm really good.
Hey, we're glad to have you, Scott. We're talking about the Broncos and the Carolina game this weekend, and I'm sure you heard by now. Andy Dalton got in a car accident. Everybody seems to be okay, but they're putting now Bryce Young in at quarterback in Carolina. Have you ever, you're a guy that plans for backup? Your backup plans have backup plans.
Correct.
When you were a GM, have you ever had something like this where an off the field car accident affects your Sunday game plan?
You know what? I don't believe so. We've had arrests and stuff like that, but I don't think a car accident. We had a couple of coaches that had to miss some time because of car accidents, but I can't remember ever having a player go on, hurt his thumb in a car wreck and have to miss a game. But, the thing with Carolina, I think the best thing for Carolina is the fact that just play the young guy, let him live and learn, I mean, son of a gun. What do they have going forward? Are they going to draft another quarterback next year, or sign somebody in free agency, so. But no, I can't remember one time having a player get in a car wreck. No, I get calls middle of the night. Somebody got arrested, but it wasn't a car wreck.
or even worse, I'm getting a text right now that Christian Darrisaw suffered an ACL. He's out for the season.
Oh,
wow.
Signs a huge deal this summer. Arguably, when you watch tape, maybe the top current left tackle in football.
Left tackle in football? Yeah, he's been playing really well. He's been playing
at the right age, high level, and he it's one of those things that let's talk about this a little. When you're an offensive lineman, the injuries don't happen from the front; they happen from the rear.
They happen from the rear.
And he got rolled up on, and I've had some great offensive tackles, but the best one I ever had was Lomas Brown, and not in terms of talent, but in terms of spatial awareness. He was so worried about the back of his legs, he never got hit. And, sometimes spatial awareness saves you. And so that's a huge blow. The Vikings already reeling, lost 2 straight, coming off a brutal call last night. I don't know if y'all saw the face.
Yeah.
And now you got to play the rest of the year without arguably your best player.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. If I'm Sam Darnold.
And how it happened too. People were like, why he couldn't take a knee? They're on the 2-yard line. He couldn't take a knee. The going straight down at the 2 is tough. Because you're already a yard behind, right? The ball's on the 2, center's behind the ball, you're behind the center, so you can't take a knee on the 2-yard line. I mean, if anything, run quarterback sneak, but then you don't want to get your quarterback hurt, so it's that's tough. That's unfortunate and tough. If they was on the 4, I'm pretty sure Kevin takes a knee, right? Coach O'Connell takes a knee and then they get out of there. But being on the 2, you gotta run that play. So
Scott, though, to pile on to what Rob was saying about being prepared, having backup plans. Tough to have, you talk about quarterback, tough to have a backup plan to losing a Pro Bowl left tackle.
Yeah, top left tackle.
No, that's very tough. Losing any good player, especially a legit starter, is tough, but you got a game plan for it, Derek Shell's a good player, don't get me wrong. And that'll affect them going forward 100%. But also, that's why the draft comes in to be so important, and the depth comes in to be so important, that you have to have, not the same player, because you're not. That's why he's a backup, but he's got to be able to go out there and function, And finding left tackles, as everybody on this call knows or on this Zoom knows, hard to find. Hard to
find a
find.
big man. It's like
Yeah.
finding a big man in basketball.
Speaking of finding good guys, it's the trade deadline's coming up. There was a lot of rumors about the Rams guys being on the trading block going into last night's game, but pulling off a big win against Minnesota. Some of these guys may not be on the trade block as much because they're now within a game of the division. But if you're the Broncos, are you looking to buy? Are you looking to sell? Or are you just happy to sit where you're at? What do you?
Well,
Scott,
before we before we get in there, Rob, Scott,
Yeah.
what happens, as a GM during this period of time? Everybody hears, trades just don't miraculously occur, right? Are you calling? And of course you guys are all. It's like the old Mad Magazine, spy versus spy, right?
Sure.
Nobody wants to tell. You're like, well,
Sure.
let's say you want to get rid of somebody. You're not calling Rob and saying, hey, look, I got a great deal on Anderson. You could have him, but I want a second round pick, because as soon as you sit there and say he's available, I'm saying to myself, he must either A, suck, or I can get him for cheap.
Yeah,
Because Scott
right?
ain't trying to trade me. Scott ain't trying to trade me someone good.
yeah, but the thing about it is, I call the agents, and I'm like, listen, do you think he's possibly available? I don't call the other GMs, because that shows your hand right away. So you call the agent and you just say, okay, listen, is there a chance that he might be available? And it's a poker game, bigger than life in the NFL with GMs, and you're never going to show your hand ever, but if you make a phone call, you initiate it, you're showing part of your hand, so all of a sudden they're like, okay, well, let's, I was trying to get Lance Briggs, that, and I had him from Chicago, when I was in San Fran. And of course we got Urlacher got involved, Lovie Smith got involved, the owner got involved, and all of a sudden, but I had a deal made. And the thing about it is, the only thing I screwed up was, or I didn't, but some in the building did, but I'll take blame for it, is that we contacted the agent prior to getting confirmation from the GM that I could talk to him.
Right, but talking, that's what I'm talking about. So you sit there, and all the teams do two things. One, they've already watched all the film on all the possible players that could be traded. Number two is that they're looking there saying, okay, will they give this guy up? What are we doing? Like Tennessee right now, clearly they're fire selling everybody. Cleveland might be fire selling everybody. They're moving forward. How does it look with your general manager? How do you make the decision that you're buying or selling? Because if you're selling, you're basically packing in the season, right?
Correct.
And you better be comfortable that you're going to keep your job. Otherwise, like I like to say, don't save cap room, draft picks, or cash for your successor.
Well, but the thing about it is, it's not just the fact that if you're selling, it means you are getting up on the season. If you put it out there publicly, players in the locker room, like, what the hell's going on?
Yep.
This ain't right.
Yep.
We don't want to win. Why the hell am I here? I'll be the next guy that goes.
What if you find you have a room, like say your running back room, and you're like, I am really deep in my running back room. I don't have enough reps for CJ and Peter to share, but I can get a solid draft pick for Peter, and I can get his cap off my books and get some value out of it.
Well, the thing is, Rob, if it's a legit football player, and a legit person, I'm not trading them. I'm not trading, because I'm trying to build something. Now, if you have Kevin Barlow, who I had, when I first got to San Fran, in the first year he was a starter, I drafted Frank Gore. I knew I was going to move Barlow. I knew it. Now I reached out to the Jets, and made a deal. I made a lot of deals early in my career, a lot of deals. Matter of fact, they were calling me Trader Jack. It's all right. I've been called worse, just so you know.
Amen.
But I knew that he's going to be a backup, and what his contract was, and he was not going to take a reduction. He wasn't going to do anything with his contract. So I knew I had to trade him, but I had to play it coy from the standpoint that, I really like him. Let me go talk to the head coach and see if he's willing to trade him. And I didn't leave my room. in my office. I just stayed right there. I called him right
Scott.
back, and I said, "Okay, we'll
But
do
so
it."
Scott though, because now we do Zoom though. Back in the day though, you're trying to be all cool, like, oh damn, I don't want to give him up. You're like, if this son of a buck offers a 3, I'm taking it, right? And they're like, well, how about a 3? How about a 3? You're like, I don't know.
I bet
And
Scott's
in the
never paid
meantime-
retail for anything in his
In the
life.
meantime, you're high fiving your assistant GM, and you're
Hey, the thing is, Peter, I can say his name because he's a good guy. Mike Tannenbaum was the GM for the Jets at the time.
Danny.
And he's like, would you give up? Would you give him up for a 4th? I'm like, I don't think we can do that. He's our starter. You know, I'm thinking to myself, hell yeah. I said, let him walk down the hallway and talk to the head coach and make sure everything's copacetic with it. And I came back
and then you're like,
said,
then you're
I'm like, yeah, no, I was like, okay, well, maybe a 4th and maybe a 7th.
Fill up my vending machines for 2 years. No, like CJ, I feel like Scott would be that person at a car dealership when they give him the price he wants. He'd still be like, "Whew, is that the best you can do?" Like he never pays retail for anything. He's like, "I bet I can get something more out of this."
Heck yeah!
And then you say, I'm going to call you back in 30 minutes. And you're like, that's the longest 30 minutes of my life. Like, wow, 29 more minutes to go, 28. Right, but there's also something, Rob, and I call it the football gods or football karma. All right. This probably goes back, I don't know, 15 years. And the Giants had Derek Ward, they had Tiki Barber, and a big dude from Florida State, Northern Illinois, Brandon Jacobs.
Jacobs.
All right, and they had a 4th running back, Ryan Grant, and they're like, well, screw it, we're going to trade Grant because we can't keep 4 running backs. So they they get a deal from the Packers. What happens the first week? Jacobs gets hurt. The next week, all of a sudden, Derek Ward gets hurt. And now they're on the street trying to bring a running back in who's nowhere near. But because they thought they had surplus,
security.
They traded.
Yeah, security.
And Grant goes out to Green Bay and rushes for 1,200 yards.
Gee.
And that the first thing that happens as soon as you trade a guy because of surplus, that's boom. Because, see, the other thing I like to say about football, it's different than in baseball. So, and Scott being a baseball guy, CJ being a huge baseball guy. If CJ's the general manager of the San Francisco Giants, he's not just looking at the major league roster. He's sitting there saying, "Okay, I got this great first baseman on the major league roster. He's got 3 years left on his contract. In AAA, I've got this guy, but he's a freaking hell of a player. I need to play him. AA, I'm stacked there, but I've got no shortstops. So I might call Scott, and it's a little bit different because I'm like, Scott, I know you've got the same stack, but you're at shortstop. Maybe I'll let's just swap out my AAA shortstop for your AAA first baseman because you're not going to play him. He knows they're not going to play him, and it's more of I think in baseball there's more like honor among thieves. People aren't trying to get over on people because you do have this layered system. Wouldn't you agree, Scott?
Yes, totally agree. Totally agree. And the thing about it is, and I've already spoken about this before in our future or earlier shows, was the fact that even like with trades, and talking with agents and knowing you're going to get a deal done, but you have to have that conversation prior to the trade. In my opinion, you got to know, listen, okay, I'm not going to trade a 3rd round pick for a 1-year guy, because that 3rd round pick is going to be a 4-year guy for me no matter what. And hopefully further on, a second contract, but you have to, as you well, Peter, those conversations go on all the time. They go on in the off season, they go on during the season. Now I know they call it tampering, at times, whatever.
I call it business.
Well, yeah, well, me too, because we have to have a relationship where we can talk and understand. We have a handshake over the phone. We're known, where Reddick, that deal should have been done before.
Way before.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a conversation with the agent and say, listen, this is what it's going to be. If not, then I'm not making the trade. Right. But it's a big business, as you guys are all well aware, and there's a lot of action that goes on with it. But there's also communication going on all the time, and you're always trying to improve your roster. You don't want to. But like I said, the guys like I drafted, when I was in San Fran, we were in Seattle, and I was in Washington. I'm going to re-sign them because if they're the right person, I'll identify the first 2 months being around them every day, and know that they're not just good football players, but they're good people. And that's how you build your roster.
Yeah, so CJ, during this process, what cracks me up is like, well, the Niners are putting so and so, or Broncos putting CJ Anderson on the trade market. So one thing I want to say is I'll talk about that, and two, I want to hear what you say, CJ, about how does that make you feel. But the reality is, a general manager in the league, you might be married 20 years, but if I don't know, whoever Haley Berry, whoever the hottest chick in the world comes up and says, Scott, I might be interested. I'm not saying you're trading your wife, but you're going to think about it, right?
You're entertaining. I mean, I think the whole purpose, like as a player, like Brian Sale, like I look at the DeAndre Hopkins situation, right? Like obviously the Titans know that they're not having a chance to do anything this year, so they're trying to do better. They're trying to do better by grabbing picks and young players to build the roster. Obviously, picks build the roster, but then a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, you can go play some meaningful football. Like I'm at a point in my career where I want to play meaningful football. I don't want to play, right? I don't want to be like that was my whole thing when I left Denver, right? And the time we was in, like the time I had in Carolina, and I'm telling Pete, like Pete, I got to get out of here. Like they don't want to win here. Like they don't want to win here. I'm so used to winning and love winning because what the Broncos have done to me early in my career, which I will be considered spoiled, right? Super Bowl, AFC Championship, Super Bowl, right? So it's like I've been spoiled so early. I want to play meaningful football. So when you hear that those type of players are on the trading block when you're playing for those not so good teams, I'm asking Pete to put me on teams where we can go compete, right? And at least I can go play some meaningful football later in my career because I know my time is coming up.
I get that, though. Okay, so let's look at the Jerome Baker and draft pick trade for Ernest Jones. Okay, so you basically just said you're Ernest Jones. I'm getting out of purgatory, and I'm going to Seattle.
I'm going to Seattle.
What if you're Jerome Baker? You're going
That's
from
tough. But if I'm Jerome Baker, the question is, like, I was on a meaningful team. But how many reps was I playing, or was I really playing? Does this opportunity going over here gives me opportunity to play and start and build that right away to another contract? Like, as a young player who doesn't really know about the success of winning, right? If let's just say this, for example, obviously I played my second year in the league, but let's just say I did not play my second year in the league, Pete, right? And I was my first 2 years in the league. I'm still a backup, but you're like, hey, CJ, the Raiders want to trade for you. And I'm like, yeah, is this going to give me an opportunity to play? Because that's all I care about right now is playing, because playing helps winning. Then I'm like, yeah, Pete, make the trade. I want to play. But I probably wouldn't say that in year 10, like, nah, don't trade me to the Raiders. We're not going to win over there. Like, I don't care Scott, how much I'm playing. We're not winning.
So, Scott, how does it go down where you break the news to the player?
About a trade?
Yeah.
You just call them in and be face-to-face and be honest. And say, listen.
That. Some don't.
Well, but the thing is, CJ, as you're well aware, and I think I did a good job at it when I was, in the main seat, that I was always honest because word gets around the league, about GMs, about front offices. I'm like, listen, this guy, I hate he did it, but at least he told me by himself. It wasn't a coach telling me. It wasn't an assistant pro director telling me. Even cutting veterans, I always did it face to face. And, and that stuff spreads. Like, listen, you know what? I didn't agree with it, but, this guy's a solid guy. This guy, if you do go there, if you ever sign as a free agent or whatever, or have, the agents even respect it. They're like, okay, I've had players that I cut that want to beat the shit out of me. I promise you. They just stare at me. I'm like, I got to do what I got to do, bud. It's part of the job. And he says, and they all leave. And when they all said and done, we'd shake hands. He said, I appreciate you being honest with me and tell me what's going on.
The other thing I'll tell you this, CJ, the other thing that you guys don't see is from the agent's perspective, once a player's name gets out there, every slapdick and hairy reporter's texting you. Is Anderson is CJ getting traded? What's CJ? What are you hearing? Like I'm saying to myself, A, I'm swamped trying to get this happen. I don't really have time. And then B, like, oh, all of a sudden there's 100 reporters, but I'm going to give you
I'm going to give you the answer. I remember when I was on trade rumors my last year in Denver, and Scott, what you saying, and I think they're both out the league, so I can say their names. That was one reason why I didn't respect Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn, Like I'm doing an event in Detroit, a fundraising or not a fundraising event with kids, and I got a phone call. Right, I got a phone call saying not even from Matt or Bob Quinn. Pete called me and said the Lions is letting you go. We got work to do, et cetera, et cetera. So I called Matt Patricia, was like, "Hey, y'all cutting me?" I said, "I'm coming in because I'm finna talk to you man to man. Like, tell me in my face. At the end of the day, I'm in year 8. I know the business, but like, come on, man, respect me as I came here respecting you. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't like the fact, and obviously we had talked. It was some heated exchange words because I felt disrespected. And I remember slamming Matt Patricia's desk and looking at Bob Quinn like, Pete know the words I said to him. It wasn't friendly, but I was like, bro, excuse my language, that shit ain't right. Like at the end of the day, I'm a grown man, bro. I've been in this business long enough, and I've been cut. So I know what it's like, but don't have my agent calling me, telling me I'm getting cut when you. Right. I ain't like that either. So I respect that you do that. Because even though I might be upset, like even when Elway did it, even though I was upset, it was Elway and his right hand man, Matt. Can't remember Matt's last name.
Matt Russell.
Matt Russell. Yep. At least they both looked me in the eye. They both said, "Man, we did the things. We tried to trade you. We tried to do this. We tried to do that. Right? Nothing worked out. We got to let you go." I respected that, right? Yep. Cool, right? Me and Broncos depart. I get this big old little depart party from the Broncos. It's solid, right? When McVay told me they wasn't going to sign me, it was Les and McVay calling me, right? And telling me, like, we want to re-sign you, but we got this going on with Malcolm Brown. We got this going on. If Todd Gurley's going to be healthy, we love what you did for us last year. We can't re-sign you. I respected that. But then what I got from, or even when Marty, I respected Marty and Ron Rivera when they brought me in. It was like, hey, we know we said we were going to do this with you this season. This didn't happen. If we let you go now, we give you a chance to go. And that's how I got to the Rams. We give you a chance to go, finish out the rest of the season. I respected that. Then when it got to them too, it was like, bro, if this is the Patriot way, then that's the Patriots right now. You know what I'm saying? I was pissed off.
Hey, speaking of the Broncos and trades right now, are they buyers or sellers at 4-3 with Carolina coming to town this week? The trade deadline is November 5th. If you're the Broncos, are you looking at adding some more young players in the future or adding some veteran presence now, or are you just happy with where you're at? Are we buyers, sellers, or sitters? Scott?
I would say buyers to a point, but also they're playing pretty solid ball right now. You don't want to rock the boat too much. Now if you're sitting at 2-6, 2-5, whatever, then it's like, okay, listen, we understand that we get a lot of veterans on this team. We're going to lose a handful this next year. Their contracts are coming up or whatever, or we're going to try to let them test free agency, all that stuff. But if you're a younger team, you don't want to rock it too much because then it doesn't improve consistency. It's just like, so what are we doing? So every year you're going to just be trading in and out and do that kind of stuff. I know in basketball it happens. I know in baseball it happens to a point. But in football, there's usually not a lot of trades made. There's a couple big ones like there, already has been, but it's not. It's just, you can't. The chemistry in the building, in the locker room, has to be strong and has to be consistent. If you're changing it every year, then you're not taking a step forward. You're staying static, or maybe taking a step back. As a personnel guy, I always wanted more picks, of course, just because that's what a personnel guy wants. That's how you build your team. But also, you got veterans, and the thing about it is, and CJ knows this very well, is that there are certain veterans that are on the downslide, bottoming in their career. But their leadership and their toughness and their
brings a different element. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and teaching the young kids certain things, how to take notes, how to be in meetings, how to live off the field. That stuff's huge, and a lot of fans don't see that just because it's like, oh, okay, D-Hop, I don't know D-Hop personally, but I know he's been a damn good football player, and I know teammates have always liked him. And he makes plays. Is he at the peak? No, he's on the downslide. But still, he brings a value to that locker room. I did with Justin Smith. I brought him to San Fran. Everybody's like, you're way overpaying him. I'm like, I probably am, not a lot of sacks. I get it, ex first round pick. I get all that. But I knew what I was bringing in the building was something that you can't teach.
He changed that locker room for sure.
Yeah, coaches can do what they want to do, but players help players bigger than life.
And as a player, we saw Justin Smith leadership on the other side of the ball, even though he wasn't playing at the same Justin Smith we knew when he was younger.
Sure.
But we saw like Patrick and Navarro and Deshaun Golston, Devontae Whitten, like they rallied around what he said when he got them going. Like we saw that as players. Even though he's not, and we say that in our game plan. Like he's not the same guy, but understand when he speaks, like DeMarcus, when he speaks, everybody listens. Like okay, we need to, because they got the credit of they done it for so long.
So CJ, if you're with the Broncos, are you buyers or sellers or sitters right now?
So I think I'm kind of what Scott said, and my reason might be a little different. It's a lot. It's early too, though. But if I'm looking at everything right, I'm buying to a point that's gonna help me, because outside of Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Houston, the Ravens, and then obviously Kansas City, right? All of them have either no losses or 2 losses at the most. I'm sitting in that 6th, 7th, 8th bubble playoff picture.
Yep.
All the other teams are 3-4, 4-3, 3-3, like me. So if I can buy to help my team to get in the playoffs, then I think I play it. I think I play it that way. I know it's early. We still got to play good football.
So you're looking at the Kohl's rack. You're not going to Nordstrom's, or you're not going to the you're walking the clearance aisles at Kohl's.
Like, who's a good football player that can help us right now? That's going to help us move the ball forward. Because maybe in the beginning of the year, and I don't know if GMs and Scott will have to answer this question. Maybe in the beginning of the year, we probably wasn't a playoff team, but then, good coaching got the team together. We're playing well. We're in the middle of the season, and now we have a chance to be a playoff team. So now if we got a chance, let's go make the playoffs, right? So
how beneficial for a young team like this is it to make the move, even if you're not a Super Bowl contender, but you go, boy, if we make the right move, we can make it. We can get in the playoffs with these guys. And how valuable is that to a young team?
Huge, because once you're in the tournament, anything can happen. Like once you're in, anything can happen, because it's game by. It's always game by, but it's truly game by game basis, week by week basis. We just need to be better than you that day. We might not be better than you on paper. We might not beat you 9 out of 10 times, but the one time we need to beat you at the right time, that's what we need right now.
So I'll tell you right now, I'm a hard buy. And I'll tell you why. When you look, first of all, they have $75 million in cap room next year. So if we give up a third or fourth, we can replace it. We have a lot of cap room to bring someone in free agency, number one. Number two, if you look at their schedule, they got the Panthers this week. That puts them at 5-3. Their 2 toughest games are going to be back-to-back. And then they go on a little, the Raiders and the Browns and the Colts and the Bengals. They've got a...
Those are all teams that are at that, except for the Browns. Those are all teams at the bubble of making the playoffs. You win 3 out of those 4 there. Let you know you're a 6, 7 seed, and you're a playoff team when you wasn't really supposed to be a playoff team this year.
Yeah, no, I'm with Peter. It's it's time to look to buy. What are the key positions that can help Bo Nix out right now, that can give you the few extra first downs you need a game that you're not getting. So that's what I think. But I want to move on, because we've spent a lot of time on the Broncos and the trade deadline. It's trick or trade season. I get it.
I'm being told right now, with the current roster, ESPN Analytics is giving the Broncos a 52% chance to make the playoffs.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Right, but that's with the current roster. You go get them a tight end. Boom.
How much? Hey, Scott, how much do we have to trade to get Aaron Gordon? What do we got to go get? What do we got to go send the Nuggets? What do we got to do?
The Nuggets got to start off 0-7.
I know, right? After last night, he played okay, but we'll talk about the Nuggets here in a little bit. But I want to move on to CU and Coach Prime, with Cincinnati coming to town this Saturday. Another late start at 8:15. But does CU have a legit chance and a shot in a road to the Big 12 Championship? CJ.
Before you do there, I want to do this.
Yeah.
If we are going to do one live game show this weekend.
Yeah.
CU Cincy, Denver, Carolina. I'm going CU Cincy. I'm just saying I'm throwing that out there. If we're going to do one, I think that's going to be a much better game to do.
Prime goes bowling this weekend.
I don't know if we'll be able to stay awake this time, Peter. Like, are we going to have to send over some
not on the
Sly?
East
And
Coast.
we're going to have to send over some Sly energy drink to you to keep you going.
I'm not on the East Coast. I'm back here now.
But to answer your question about can Prime get to the Big 12 playoff, he's going to need some help, right? Like, BYU is still undefeated. I know Iowa State got the one loss. They do not play each other, so do understand that. They do not play each other. BYU and Iowa State do not play each other. And if they win out.
Here's the remaining schedule for CU. They got Cincy this weekend, then they're at Texas Tech, then they have Utah coming to Boulder, then they're at Kansas, and then they have Oklahoma State coming to Boulder to finish up
the
regular season.
Help. They need help. Remember, they don't play Iowa State. They don't play BYU. Iowa State has one loss. BYU is undefeated. They don't play each other. Yep. Like if Iowa State finishes undefeated and if BYU stays undefeated and Iowa State finishes one loss, they're going to play each other in the Big 12 Championship because they don't play each other.
Yeah.
So you're going to need some help. You're going to need some help. Now, obviously, he has to do his part. Like I said, man, I told you earlier in the year, Prime 8 for me is a good one. And him going bowling is just good, right? So
100%.
That's the goal. I think it's one of those, like we just talked about with the Broncos. Like, are we a Big 12 championship football team? Obviously, that's what we say in the beginning of the year, right? But then as we're players like, oh, we got a chance to win the Big 12. Okay, now let's, right? So he gonna need some help to get to that. But right now, let's just focus on getting 6 and going bowling, making Miss Peggy happy. You know, she's 99 years old. So let's before we send her off, let's send her off right.
Cincinnati is probably the most analogous team in the Big 12 right now to the CU Buffaloes. They're 3-1 in the conference.
They're a good team, Peter.
Yeah,
they're a good team.
They're a good team.
Yeah, no, it's so we can see the road to be paved, but they need some other teams to help them out to knock some teams off in front of them.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, you got BYU, right? Who's playing for a playoff spot, by the way. They got UCF tomorrow, Utah, Kansas, Arizona State, and Houston. And then if you go look at Iowa State's, because you got to think of those are the top two teams in the Big 12 that don't even play each other. Like that's what makes it hard.
And keep in
mind
that
they don't play each other.
And they lost to Kansas State, so they lose that tiebreaker.
Yeah. So moving on with the Sanders family, with the tying it into the draft coming up. Scott, I'm going to ask you to put your top.
I lied, by the way. Iowa State is still undefeated. My bad. I thought Iowa State lost to UCF. I guess they come back and win. Iowa State is still undefeated, right? And then you got to think, like, Kansas State, who beat them, also has one loss, right? So, like, they need help. But now, let's just go bowling and let's see how it goes.
Let's just scare some Big 12 teams in the top of the standings, right? Let's put the fear in them that we're coming for them. But Scott, I want you to put your GM hat on. Say you got a top 3 or 4 pick, and your team needs a young quarterback. Okay, yeah. CJ, I want to put your Deion Sanders hat on. You got a kid who's going to be a top 5 pick probably, but Scott's got a team like in Cleveland or somewhere where you don't know if you want your kid to go. Are you pulling an Eli Manning? Are you like, what are you looking at?
I feel like that's a hard question until
that's
you're
why I asked
that decision, right? Like, I don't know why Archie did that for his son. Just like I don't know why
John Elway.
I was just gonna say, like, why Elway? Like, I don't really have, even though they got like documentaries and stuff on it, because like obviously you want to put yourself in the position where you can be successful. But obviously, you don't want to put yourself in a position where it's like, I'm going to get beat up for the first,
Yeah, but like you're telling
3 or 4 years of my career. However, man, if I feel like I'm that guy, I'm that guy, right?
If
I'm going to be the number 1 overall pick. I'm the number 1 overall pick for a reason. The team sucks already. Yep. So that's just truth. And then the second truth to that is, but if I'm the number 1 overall pick, and Scott is giving me the keys, and I'm coming from a winning culture, winning background, obviously I got to earn my teammates' trust, but we finna run this the way I want it to be ran. I got the keys when I'm the number 1 pick. Like the whole everybody mad at LeBron or like mad at Bronny, he's playing, right? At the end of the day, yes, it's Pops, but it's one of the greatest basketball players to ever play the game of basketball that you gave him the keys so he can do those things. We're going to do things my way because I am one of the greatest basketball players ever. So, like, as a number one overall pick, you kind of get some leeway into how you want things done.
Scott,
I don't know if I sit there and tell Scott, "Hey, Scott, don't draft my son."
Scott,
like, how can I do that?
You get the phone call from Sanders saying, "Hey, I don't want my son going to your team. Don't draft him." What do you tell him?
I say, kiss my ass. I'm taking the best player. It don't matter.
Wait.
It's the NFL. You can come play. You can come play well, and don't worry. I'll take care of your son. He'll be just fine. Look at Joe Burrow. Everybody said, Cincinnati, awful. Hell, what? 3 years later, he's in the Super Bowl.
It's just like I said, it's just how you structure it. It's how you structure it.
Correct.
You gotta trust the GM that he has a plan outside of the obvious. What's the obvious? Oh, draft CJ number 1 overall. That's the obvious. I gotta trust Scott has a plan.
Correct.
Outside of the obvious.
Peter, you got CJ Anderson on your roster. He's in his prime coming out of Cal. He's a top 3 pick. And he calls you up and goes, "Hey, Peter, I don't want to go to this team. Make sure they don't draft me 2nd or 3rd or whatever." What do you tell him?
Well, it's not that simple. It would all depend on what's the position, what's the team. You look at Bryce Young. Let's use Bryce Young because they're coming to Denver this weekend. So Bryce Young, the agent signs, and we want you to be number one pick in the draft, and all of a sudden, hey, we got Carolina trade for you. How'd that work out? All right.
It's not done yet.
I understand that, but it's really a tale of two Mannings, as I like to say. The first one being Archie Manning. He's you all too young, but when he came out of Ole Miss, he was a dude. I mean,
he can play.
He was the number 1 pick in the draft for a reason. He was legit. And he goes to New Orleans, and he just gets the smack beat out of him for 10 years. I mean, every highlight you see of Archie Manning is him running for his life. Right? Now, had he gone to a better team, who knows? He might have been statistically greater than either one of his sons.
Right.
So then, Peyton comes out, goes 1 to Indianapolis. The rest is history. But then Eli comes out. And Archie says, "I ain't going to let it happen again." And he, ironically, forces his way out of San Diego and goes to the Giants, wins 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVP. You can make the argument that, he was doing it for the best interest of his son. Of course, San Diego uses the draft choices they got from the Giants, draft Phillip Rivers, and, they go to a bunch of Super Bowls, and Phillip Rivers has a great career. Point being is, going number 1 is not always the best. You got to make sure the team has a plan. It's going to put you in a situation to succeed, a whole bunch of stuff. And so I just can't answer the question. I need a lot more details about who the players, who the pick is, what's the draft, all that other stuff.
Plan. You got to have a plan. Saying what I was saying, right? You got to have a plan. I got to trust that Scott has a plan outside the obvious. Obviously, the obvious is to draft the best player, the number 1 overall pick. That's the obvious pick. That's all right. What's the plan behind that, right? Like, obviously, we need to bust down the door open if we need to save the hostage.
Scott, if
that's
someone
the obvious plan.
Scott,
but how do we do that?
If I called up to you and like, "Hey, I'm curious if I want my kid to come play for you, Scott, even though you want to draft him. What's your plan?" Besides, like, we want to go win a Super Bowl.
Well, no, I just tell them I'm going to take good football players and good people. You know what? And we're going to build this son of a bitch, and he's going to be successful. As long as I'm here, I'll get him football players every year to make him look better than he's
great.
He
and I'm the agent going, that's bullshit. I don't care. You don't have a plan. I'm coming out publicly saying I ain't going to Washington. That old senile GM doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I ain't letting my son become Archie Manning.
And then it's like you just take them off your list, then, right? You're like, I don't want to deal with this headache.
Good, don't draft him.
It's like a helicopter parent in junior high basketball. You're like, hey,
God bless him. I'd rather go number 2 to Seattle, where they have a great franchise, than that old senile son of a bitch in Washington who doesn't know how to get it on his freaking iPad on his Zoom.
I get honestly, when I'm drafting, I don't talk to parents. I could care less what parents think. I'm taking the football player. I'm taking the guy I interviewed, the guy I sat face to face with, and know that he's going to be part of this process. I've had the first pick.
But I think,
but like you got to know about the parents at some level to know how that kid's going to turn out, because you're drafting, a 20, 22-year-old, and you're like, hey, what are they going to be like when they're 30?
No, the parents from the standpoint of talking to the kid, talking to the coaches, the college coaches, but I never met with individual parents when I was a GM, ever. I met with all the kids that I pretty much nailed. The ones I didn't nail, I didn't talk to them face to face, but about the family, married, together, prison, whatever.
Scott, but none of the players you've ever drafted. His father was a Hall of Famer, Division One head coach.
Things a little different.
Division One head coach, Hall of Famer, probably one of the top endorsement earners in pro sports. And let's add this, and not shy.
Yeah, could you imagine if your kid gets drafted by you and you didn't win there, and he's just going like, "Hey, we're going to have to up his Aflac coverage."
I think Rob, to answer a good way to answer your question though, like in the prime situation, right? Let's just obviously, you saw the little thing, him talking to Mark Davis, but let's just say Mark Davis or in the Raiders, for example, it's like, hey, we're in Vegas, so the market is good, but look at the move. I knew I was drafting Shador. Look at the moves I made in free agency to get help around him, right? Whether that was offensive line help or receiver help, right? Signed some big guys in free agency, right? I got X amount of picks in the draft, so I drafted him first. I'm doing this in the draft to help him too, right? And it's like, try to get him comfortable to understand, like, I do have a plan now. Is this plan going to work? I don't know. But I got a plan.
Everyone's got a plan, so they get punched in the nose, right?
I'm not sitting there just saying, okay, we're drafting Shador and Shador is going to save it. Like, nah, I did the work in the offseason in March and in April for the free agency. Drafts in May. I'm telling you how I'm using these picks after I pick him, right? And then obviously from there, right, I got these coaches. We got to go put it together.
Scott, you know what I would do if Deion Sanders called me up and I'm the GM and he goes, "What's my plan?" I'd be like Mr. Sanders, I believe and believe.
You tell him I believe. He can't. You use his words back on him. What can he say to you? You sit there going, "I believe, baby."
No. And he's off. And he's off.
What you gotta tell him is, I ain't hard to find.
I ain't hard to find. There you go.
I'm a general manager of NFL team, buddy. You ain't telling me squat.
The merch is hard to find still. The merch is hard to find. Hey, we got to wrap this up, so I want to do some quick rapid fire. First question for you guys. Should Tua sit out the rest of the year? Yes or no?
If the doctor say he can play, he can play. I believe he should wear the Guardian cap, but he said he got personal purposes.
Put on the cap.
If the doctor say he can play, but I think he should wear the Guardian cap.
Put on the cap, because I'm telling you something right now. He gets another concussion without that cap, everybody's going to look bad.
If it's my son, I'm saying no, retire. No, it's been bad. It's been bad.
That's tough, Scott. You know how tough that is.
But he's not your son. But he's not your son right now. You're the general manager. He's your star player, and you guys have lost 4 in a row.
I still care about the person more than the player. 100%.
Oh, there ain't too many GMs like that.
No.
Put the cap on.
Hey, we got a question for you guys. Thoughts on the Bears and Commanders this weekend? If Daniels plays, if Daniels plays as the winner of the game, is he the rookie of the year?
It helps.
Yes.
He got to play, but it helps.
Yeah. You know what? Even if he doesn't play, he's still got a really good shot, bud. He's putting some numbers up there, incredible.
I mean, the division. Look at the NFC North. Like, Caleb got the Bears playing well now that he's found his spot. It should be good. I don't know if Jaden's gonna play. Got the rib going on right now. I know that.
The thing about it, CJ, is the Bears have a chance to be 4th in the division.
That's what I'm saying.
They do. I mean, think about it. I mean, you got Green Bay. You got Detroit. I mean, it's Minnesota. I mean, there's a chance he could have a hell of a year, which he's starting to play better, which I respect. And I think we all thought he would. But yeah, they get up 4th in the division. They ain't making the playoffs.
No, they're not. They're not 4th in the division because the division is strong. But like the fact that the Bears got 3 losses right now, like they're in the like. No, they're in that hunt.
Yeah, no, but they got some stuff coming up that's pretty solid. Well, but to me, it doesn't. I pull for all the young quarterbacks, because it makes the league better. It develops the league better, makes people more intrigued to it, and it brings up the next crop of guys.
I'll tell you this, Rob. 2 things. though. One, if you look at the question, it looks like it's coming from a lacrosse player. No wonder it was a smart question. Number 1. Yeah. Number 2, don't forget that Caleb Williams is going back to his hometown. All right, he's a Washington
He
kid.
is a DC guy.
Don't forget that. I think that's a little extra pressure. Whether he's gonna have to buy
1,000 tickets, or you gotta try to light it up. I hear you on that.
and playing in a big game like that. Ooh, that's some extra pressure there.
Absolutely. Next question: do you guys miss Russell Wilson yet?
I never did, but he did play well Sunday night. He played really well Sunday night. And as you heard Mike Tomlin, that's why I'm well compensated, right? That's why I get paid the big bucks. But he played well Sunday night. Outside of one throw where he actually threw it in the dirt, outside of that throw, he played well Sunday night. But I never really did miss him. I mean, Russ is a good player, and Scott drafted him. So Russ is a good player. Like, Russ is not bad, but the right fit means everything, especially later in your career.
He got me a ring, Rob. That's all I'll say.
Hey, you know what? That's fair. That's fair. Hey,
stole my ring. That's all I will say.
Last night, the Nuggets lost their first game of the year. Are they going to go 0-82 or 81-1? How concerned are you guys with the Nuggets with their first game?
I ain't concerned at all. Give it some time. You still got the best player in basketball. As long as you have the best player in basketball, like, people don't understand. That's not a just throwing that out there. Like, oh, he's top whatever. No, he's the best player in the National Basketball Association. As long as Jokic is over there, they'll be all right. They played a good team. Like, the Thunder is good.
Yeah,
really
good.
Played a great team.
Yeah, the Thunder is like really good.
They got the best perimeter defense probably in the league. And
that was the Western Conference Championship preview game last night.
Yeah.
Well, you got to figure, Rob, too. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Not in basketball.
Right. So they got
I just like overreacting to things. That's my job, is to overreact to things.
They are.
So speaking of overreaction, Avs started 0-4. Now they're 4-4.
Well, that's because they put CJ in. They switched the goalie. They took out Grubauer. They put CJ in the goal.
We start threatening.
In the building on they linya, right? I gotta to keep it PG for our kids out there. I've been on they linya to get it right. That's why we've been getting it right.
The threat of CJ going in goal. They're like, oh, we better
Once
pick this
they
up.
put CJ in goal, they've won 4 straight. Let's go.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
One thing CJ can do is stop rubber.
I want to know, Peter, since you're the guru of hockey, has there ever been a black goalie?
Yes, Grant Fuhr won many Stanley Cups with Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier, Paul Coffey, and the Edmonton Oilers. Oh my God!
Was he black or was he Canadian or was he?
Wait! You can be a black Canadian.
Was he black?
How's that hyphenation work?
You could be a black Canadian. Come on.
I don't know, man. They don't go through what we go through. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying.
Look it up.
Cowboys are in San Francisco this weekend. Who wins and which team is this game more important to?
It's more important to the Cowboys. Well, really both, but more important to the Cowboys if we're doing that. But B, San Francisco wins the football game.
I think, and I hate to say it because the head coach is a really good friend of mine with the Cowboys. I think they go down hard, and I think there might be something happens afterwards.
Ooh, what? Mike McCarthy? Someone got the GM scoop over there.
Wow. Hey. Peter, who wins, Cowboys or San Francisco? Or do you have to step out of this pick?
Why do I have to step out of this pick?
Sometimes you kind of you go through a tunnel, you get a bad reception when we ask you to make a pick.
I think the Niners are reeling too many injuries. Cowboys is a must-win game for them, so I'm going with the Cowboys.
No, absolutely. Hey, final thoughts before we wrap this up.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
You're welcome, Scott.
Hey, we got any game you're watching. Hey, one last question. Yankees and Dodgers tonight. CJ, who you got?
Got the Yanks, bro.
Scott, who you got?
The Yankees in 6 too. I got the Yankees in 6.
Yankees in 6.
We gotta make it. We gotta make it a little interesting. I would love 4 or 5, but we gotta, I gotta give them some wins.
I'm saying Yankees in 5.
Ooh. Peter, who you got? Yankees or Dodgers? First game's tonight.
It's pitching, Peter. Remember that. It's very important in baseball.
Big G on the mound tonight for the Yanks too. Big Garrett Cole on the mound, right? You know what I'm saying? We don't lose that.
Oh.
And it's official. Otani's not going to pitch this series.
Today. Wait, Rob. Today. I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the planet.
That's good.
Going with
That's
the Yankees.
good.
Pride of the Yankees, baby.
There we go.
Pride of the Yankees.
Hey,
Yankees.
I'll be the detractor. I'm taking the Dodgers in 7.
That's terrible.
What? They're in the
We're going to boot you off your own show.
That's fair.
They're pitching, Rob. Hey, they're pitching. It's not going to hold up to the Yankees. Yankees.
Our bats is crazy, bro.
Each game's going to be like 8-7, and there's more
bats.
bats.
No, our pitching is way better than that. You are janky. What? Are you watching baseball? Are you watching the baseball games? No, you're not. You ain't watching games.
Have you seen the bullpen for the Yankees?
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's why you think it's going to be 8-7 is what you got going over there in Detroit. You ain't seen our pitching, bro. We ready. We keep bats cool, but our bats stay hot.
Hey, I don't know who's the enemy of my enemy more, the enemy of my Tigers or the enemy of the Rockies. And so, but the Rockies are terrible. They won't be in a World Series again in my lifetime. So,
easy. Why you go there?
Because it's easy to say. So it's the ownership issues. But hey, guys, got to wrap this up. Much appreciated.
Wait, I do have one funny story before we go. When the Rockies played in the World Series, right? I'm good friends with Mike Lansing, who for Wichita State was Scott, right? And he played for the Rockies.
As a freshman.
And
Yep.
Yeah, teammate with Scott. So he had played for the Rockies. And so I'm like, dude, I call Lansing up. I go, Laser, any chance, you and I go to the World Series together? He doesn't get back to me. And then he's like, well, I don't know, having problems getting tickets. So I call up the Packers. I forget, Andrew Brandt was the contract guy for the Packers. And they're the guy who represented the tight end for the Packers also represented the big left fielder for the Red Sox. And he calls me up and says, hey, look, I got 2 tickets to the game because we were playing that Monday night. The Packers are playing the Broncos, but I can't go. You want to take them? I said, sure. So basically, we're getting tickets from the Red Sox people. Laser played for the Red Sox, and he said he couldn't get them. We show up to the game. I bring Gavin to the game. Might have been 4 or 5 years old at the time. We're sitting there. 2 seats are empty. Gavin can't be happier. We got it spread out. Lansing pulls up right next to me. He got the 2 seconds. I go, son of a bitch, couldn't get tickets, huh?
Yeah, that's a crazy one.
Hey guys, much appreciated today. We will when we end this, hang on for a second. We're gonna figure out which game we're watching this weekend. So guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you here in a few days.
Later.
See you.
Yep.